In trading, knowledge is power, and lack of knowledge in what you're doing can be costly, very costly. So you need a solid foundation of quality market education. Whether you're new to trading or a seasoned veteran looking to add advanced strategies to your arsenal, there's always something to learn and something to improve on. And now you can access the same knowledge that professional traders receive with Market Rebellion's Trading Education. I'm Bill Johnson, Head of Options Education here at Market Rebellion, and we've assembled a comprehensive curriculum based on decades of real trading experience, covering everything you need to know about trading options from beginner to advanced. We go way beyond the nuts and bolts of options theory to teach you how to apply specific trading strategies and the techniques needed to adapt your trades when markets shift. Regardless of your goals, you'll gain access to the education you need with easy-to-consume lessons so you can learn to trade with confidence, enhance your knowledge, and master the practical skills required for market success. So please join us for in-depth trading education only from Market Rebellion. Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back, Market Rebels. And Stu, I think I just heard the closing bell, which is kind of a good thing. It looked like a little bit of a sell-off going in here to the close. What happened?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure exactly what happened here,
Yeah,
but
just kind of
it definitely sold off in the last 15, 20 minutes.
Yeah, so hopefully put a stop to that. Maybe we can get a little reversal tomorrow. But I have a very cool topic. I know you're going to love this, and you'll probably get a
Wait,
hint.
hold on, Bill. Did you say I should put a stop order in?
No,
Oh,
that's
okay.
a different topic.
Got it. Okay,
But one we will tackle for sure.
Yeah.
But this one is another common fallacy, common belief that we hear from so many people.
Yeah.
And it is, at least our title is, Who Owns the House?
Oh,
I have a feeling you know where this is going, but it's a really important topic for traders because, again, we hear this all the time, and it's just it can really get you into a lot of trouble. So let's find out what this is all about.
house.
And before we do, please check us out, marketrebellion.com/get started. We got lots of great topics just like this, articles, videos, all kinds of things to help you make better decisions with options. So the topic here, if you haven't figured it out there on YouTube, is the house money fallacy. And again, Stu and I hear this all the time when we're doing our Q&As. I know you probably get it when you're doing coaching sessions. But gamblers, traders, whatever you want to talk about, are always talking about house money. And they think of it like it's the holy grail of this. If you're going to gamble, whether it's in Vegas or speculatively trade with options, you got to get into house money. And what this means is that you have recovered your initial bankroll and then some. So if you put $5 into an option and you can roll it and get $6 out, let's say you're now into house money because you've collected your full 5 and yet you still have some kind of a position to possibly make more. Well, what could be better? See, the problem is they're not telling you the whole story. So what is the problem here? Well, let's go dive in a little deeper here. So to make it easier, we're going to assume that you have a brand new account. And I'm only doing this just to make it easier to follow. But once you see the logic of it, if it's just one position among many, it's the same math. But again, this is just to make it easy. So we've got nothing in the account. We're going to deposit 600 bucks. We're going to buy a $100 call for 6. Of course, each contract controls 100 shares, so that's $600. And then this becomes our risk graph. So traders are saying, okay, great. The maximum I can lose is 6, right there. Remember, we get our bend at the strike. And so, again, this is our maximum loss. This is what everybody wants to guard. Well, if the stock moves in our favor, kind of the first step that a lot of options traders want to do is they want to roll it.
Yeah,
So let's say that sure.
Can I do a really super quick timeout here?
Absolutely.
Go back one slide, please. So Bill said, this is what everybody wants to, I think you said protect.
Right.
This is what everyone wants to protect. I think that people need to, in their trading world, they need to consider,
it's already protected.
Do they have to protect it?
Correct.
Yeah. I mean, that's a question that nobody really,
I agree.
Yeah. Anybody, most people don't really ask. I mean, the option itself is a hedge. So, you really need to ask yourself, do I need to protect?
Do I need to hedge it? Right. That's what that bend is right there. If you look, it doesn't continue making losses as if you had long shares of stock. That little hockey stick bend is the hedge. That's the insurance
policy. It is the hedge. So the question really becomes, everyone, is like, how much do you need more of a hedge? Right.
Then you can start a pretty small outlay for the financial markets.
For a stock that could be, whatever, $100, $50, $200, sure, whatever it is. It's a pretty small outlay, right? And then when you start adding on these legs, a vertical, a diagonal, or this or that, maybe now just think about it this way. Now you're hedging your hedge. Do you really need it?
Right.
You really want it, right? Just something to think about. All right.
All good questions. Right. So we're going to assume that people aren't thinking about that and they go, oh, but I've got a bunch of money into this trade. I need to hedge it somehow. So they want to roll it. Let's say the stock rises to some level. We're going to sell the $100 call. We're going to buy the 105.
Okay.
And this is a roll. We're just swapping it out.
Vertical spread.
Right. So actually a vertical spread. So when we sell this one, we're closing it. That's going to go away from our account, and we're just buying this. We're swapping it out. Now, because lower strike calls have to be worth more money for the same expiration, we are kind of rolling up into a lesser valued option. 105 doesn't have as much value as the 100, and that's why we're getting the credit. So let's say that we get a net credit of 4. And this is a kind of a typical benchmark that we do for longer term trades. We usually tell people look for about 80% of the difference in strikes. So we have a $5 difference in these strikes. 80% would be $4. And if we can get that, then probably a pretty good time to roll. So let's do that. So this was our original risk graph. And when we switch out from the 100 strike, remember that's our bend right there at 100, and we go up to the 105, what happens? All right, notice that we create the bend now at 105. But the main thing is that we have shifted this maximum loss region from the black to the blue higher, or to a lower spot on the graph. We can only now lose $2. It's because we originally had 6, we just put 4 in our pocket. So now if this blue curve, the 105 call, goes bust, it's only a $2 loss instead of a $6 loss. We continue the same thing. The stock keeps moving in our favor. Maybe we can roll to the 110 call for another $4. And now look what happens here, Stu. Something cool. You can see that this 0 line right there means we're just breaking even. And the entire green curve sits above 0.
Yeah. The math is really easy. Just follow the money, right? You sold it. You sold the spread once, you got 4. You sold the spread again, you got 4. 4 and 4 is 8. You paid 6, you took in 8, you got a $2 bill in your pocket. Go ahead.
Yeah. So sometimes people look at this as saying it's a negative cost basis. It's as if somebody paid you $2 to take the 110 call. Now, it's not really Correct, but that's how a lot of people see it, and they'll say, "Well, I'm playing with house money," as if even if this goes bust, worst case is they'll say, "Well, I made $2. I can't lose, and yet I still have all of this unlimited upside." But when they do this, they forget a number of things. So they like to call this the house money because, again, they've recovered their full $6. But there's a couple of points that we wanted to really make about this. The first one is,
keep in mind all that everything that Bill said so far is true.
It's very true.
There's nothing that's not true about this. There is, right. Forget what the name is just for a minute. It's $2 that your way, right?
You spent $6 and have collected $8, right?
You have a new option, different strike, probably the same expiration, maybe not. In this case, it is the same expiration, and you collected 2, and now you own the 110s instead of the
100s. Right. So the first question that we want everybody to be aware of: who owns the house?
Love that.
See, this is the thing that everybody misses who always talks about house money, because it's as if somebody comes up to you, let's say that you're in a casino, Stu, and they go, "Well, you got yourself into house money. You came in with $1,000. You're up 1,200. You took 1,000 or 1,000 off the table. Now you're playing with house money." Well, that's not true. It's your money. Now, maybe if the house came to you and said, "Hey, we're running a special. We're going to give you $200 worth of chips, and you have to use it here at the table." All right, I'd buy that as house money, because it is really their money that they just gave to you. You can't cash it in. You can't do anything with it. You could say, if I lose it, it didn't cost me anything. That's not true if you've generated it.
You can't. Can you use it at the buffet, Bill? Can you go to the buffet and
you can't even go to the buffet with it, because then that would no longer be.
You used to be able to do that. You can't do that anymore. But
So the first thing is, who owns the house? And the question is, or the answer is, you.
Yeah.
And the second thing is, what's the house worth? This is another area that we're going to show you in a minute why a lot of people get tripped up. And the reason, in those examples that I just showed, is it doesn't account for the current call's value, or whatever the option happens to be. In this example, I'm using a call option. They're just looking at those net credits netted against the initial debit. So, for instance, in this example, we started out spending $600. We rolled for $400. We did a second roll to the 110 strike for $400. So is it true, if we look at our broker's platform in our money market, that we have $800 cash sitting there? Now remember, we assume that this was a brand new fresh account, and I did it just to make it easy to follow like this. So do we have $800 sitting in cash? Absolutely.
Looks like it.
However, this is where people go, "Oh, I'm playing with house money. I can't lose." Well, don't forget, we have the 110 call. And what's that 110 call trading for? Well, let's just say that it's trading for 12. So your total account value is how much? That's 1,200 plus 800. Your total account value is 2,000. I doubt very seriously, or I certainly hope not, that if this call goes bust and your account value goes from 2,000 to 800, that you're not going to say that you're up. And yet that's what the house money fallacy says, because you're comparing it to this and saying, well, even if it goes bust, I started with 600 and my account is now worth 800.
See, what Bill's saying, everyone, is there's always the opportunity to sell what you have and take the money.
Exactly. Right. This is part of the thing. The fact that you chose to not put it in money market and instead bought a call doesn't mean that it's free money at all. And yet so many people come in and say, well, hey, at least I'm into house money. And they might be holding 5 NVIDIA calls, or a stock that might be trading at $400 or $500 with 6 months to go. They got a ton of money in it, and they go, oh, don't worry about it. I'm with in-house money. No, you're not at all. You got potentially a lot that you can lose.
Here's another example. So, and I hear this a lot. In fact, I kind of heard this today. I'm into UNH.
Yeah, there's a good one.
UNH took a big slide recently, right? Everyone, it went from 600 to 300. I'm in UNH at $45.
Yeah.
it doesn't matter what happens here. That's what you're saying.
That's right. It's
Right.
nonsense.
If it goes down another $50 or $100, it's kind of okay. I mean, it's ridiculous, right? I'm just listening to I'm hearing myself say it, and I can't believe I'm hearing myself say it. But that's the idea when you kind of think about this, as we're explaining this, because that money that's sitting in the value of the current option
Correct.
is
In
real.
this case right here.
Right. All you got to do is hit the button, bang, and it's sitting
Hit
in
sell,
your
and that becomes 2,000. Right.
So
the fact that
you have to consider that.
Right. The fact that you could have walked away with 2,000, but instead you chose to buy the 110 call doesn't mean that it suddenly has no value. Of course it does. So, Stu, it's interesting when you said, going back to that example, let's say that you're into UNH for $45 and it's trading at 600. Do those same people say that they're not up? Or do they say that they're up a lot? What do they want to brag about?
No, they say that's my point.
I'm up. I'm into it at 45 at 600. Why are they happy about that? Because I'm up a lot of money. I can hit sell and I can get it. Well, then why do they say if it falls that it doesn't matter? It's such a contradiction.
Yeah, exactly.
It is your money. Don't ever forget that. Now, here's another one. We've gotten this a few times in Q&A, rolling to a vertical spread.
Yeah,
so just kind of as an extreme example, let's say that you buy a $100 call, you spend $3. The stock moves in your favor in a big way, and it's now trading for 12.
Mm-hmm.
And then people look at the board and they'll say, oh, look at this. I could sell the 105 call trading for 8, and I'm going to get a $4 credit. I spent 3, so now I can own the 105 vertical. Okay, this is the $4 credit there by doing that vertical. Now I'm going to own the vertical for what? House money. I'm into it for $1. Worst case is I can make $1 because I spent 3 and I now have 4 in my pocket. I'm in house money. So here's the graph. There's your initial starting at -3. And when you did that roll from the 100 to the 105, you went from the black curve to the red.
So let me ask you a question now, Bill. Can I sell the vertical on the red line?
We're going to get that. Exactly. So people, what they do without even thinking it through, they say, look at this. The entire curve is above 0. I'm into house money and I might even make more. What's the most you could make? Well, you started at +1. You can make another 5 for the difference in strikes, +6. But what they don't realize is on the previous screen, if you had just sold it, you'd be up here at +12. What's the benefit of that? Why brag about house money when you could have had 12 stepping into an asset that might make 6?
And as usual, everyone, we're not saying it's not.
There are certainly times, of course.
It may not be a prudent way to go, but it only can be a prudent way to go if you consider the fact that you have the availability to make the cash.
Exactly. You're just rolling
and then you make a decision.
You're just rolling it into a new option. It's not house money. And that's the big fallacy.
And here's part 67 of that. So say you sell the call on the vertical to create the vertical. And you're like, you got this big credit working. Now you look at the vertical, maybe say it's a $10 vertical, maybe that's trading it, and I'll make a number up, 5. So now you got $5 in it, but you're not really looking at it because you got like all this credit money.
Right.
And now you have a $5 vertical. Now that presents a risk position.
Yes, it does.
See, and then what happens the next day? I'm betting 5 to make 5. It's up $1. It's up 50 cents. It's down 50. Sold.
Yeah.
So you forego you didn't take advantage of the initial sale when you could have. You put the credit on, put the vertical on to make that big credit, and then you took risk at that time, and then you didn't allow yourself an opportunity to take advantage of the risk that you took. All you did was blow it out the next day or the day after.
Right.
And
now
you
let it play out. Right.
And now you're basically betting money to not make any money.
That's right.
Right? You're taking a risk position and you're not allowing yourself an opportunity to get paid.
Yeah. Or like I said, when I created this example, it was to say you could have gone to here for sure, 100% for sure, had $1,200, but instead, because you got focused on house money, you put yourself in a position that might end up making five for a total of six. So even if it works out, which it hasn't yet, you're only half of what you could have had. I mean, you're going,
And that's
what
a
was
big
the point?
if.
Because
That's a big if.
exactly, because they go, oh well, even if it blows up, at least I have house money. You're going, it's the worst decisions. People make the absolute worst decisions because they're focused on house money. Okay. So now, quick little pit stop here, marketrebellion.com/get started. More articles, videos, things like that, just like we're talking about right here to help you get started. Now, Stu, my favorite parable of all. I love parables or analogies because it gets you out of calls, puts, house money rolling, things that can be a little confusing. One of the all-time best that I've ever seen for the house money fallacy is the Las Vegas wedding. This goes by a number of different names, but here's the scenario. We have a newlywed couple. They go to Las Vegas and pick a number. They've got $5,000 that they want to spend on gambling. That's part of their goal, part of their vacation here.
I know this story. Yeah, go ahead.
It's great. So what happens is that they lose it all. No shocker there, except the last $5.
Mm-hmm.
So they keep this little chip as a little souvenir.
Yep.
And in the middle of the night, the husband wakes up and he sees the clock flashing like 4:05 a.m. or 5 a.m. He says he takes it as an omen.
Why does the husband have to be the bad guy? Why?
Well, all right, we'll make it the wife. So she sees this as an omen that there's something about 5. So she gets up and she's all right. I'm going to go down to the roulette wheel and we're going to play some roulette. Now, for those who don't know, there's lots of different types of bets in roulette. You can do a red black, you can do odd even, lots of things. But we're going to assume a single number. So in this case, let's say that you bet 12. Ball lands on 12, you win 35 times your money.
Yeah. I could bet $1 and win 35.
Yep. Great risk reward ratio, right? Nobody accounts for the risk in that, but at any rate, correct. 35 to 1. So now she puts a $5 chip on there, and what happens? Goes to $175. So now she takes the $175 and bets it on another number, single number, bang, hit. She's up to 61.25.
By the way, everyone, he's just multiplying this by
35, right? 35 to 1. So she's taken that, puts it on another number. She goes, man, Lady Luck is with me. And lo and behold, hits. She's up to $214,000.
Oh, man, that's a good night.
She says, why not? We'll do it again. She puts it on another single number. No kidding, it hit. She's up to $7.5 million.
Beautiful.
So it goes, why not? Luck is with me. So she bets $7.5 million on a single number, loses it. So she's dejected. She comes walking back to the hotel room. Husband says, honey, where were you? Oh, I went down and gambled some. How'd you do? And she says, not bad. I lost $5. See, when you put it in this context, because it's such an exaggerated example, people say, wait a minute. She could have stopped here or here, certainly here. But, is it really fair to say that you only lost $5 because that was your initial amount?
Well, hold on. So if I truly, truly believed in the house money thing, my answer would be yes.
If you believed in the house money thing, correct?
Right. I mean, is it
that's
my
why
money?
It's a beautiful parable. Nobody's gonna look at that and say it must be true. Now let's give it some of the benefit of the doubt. Let's say she gets to 214,000, and she says, well, 200,000 is still a big number. I'm going to run 200,000 back up to the safe in the room, and I'm going to come back down with the remaining 14,375, and she loses it. Is it still fair to say that she lost house money? No, because she could have had 214,375 in the safe in the room.
Right.
She
So what
still
would her
spent.
answer be, Bill? So if the husband said to the wife, how'd you do? What should she really say?
That's a good question. I think that most people would say that they were up, basically 200K just minus the $5. They wouldn't say that they lost this 14,000 because it was house money. And so the main point is that you have to recognize it's your money.
It's your money. That's the point.
You own the house.
You own the power, even though you might not see it. It might be hidden in a position somewhere. You might not be able to create the synthetic properly.
Absolutely.
You know, 1,000 different things. But the fact of the matter remains, the money is in the position somewhere, and we're
That's
not
right.
even talking about the money that we spent. This is going to sound a little weird, but hopefully not, because people hopefully have been watching us for a while. The money that we spent on the roll when we got paid. How about that money?
What
Right?
do you
We're
mean?
not
I
even,
got a credit. Right.
yeah, I know. Yeah, we're not
It's a
even
debit.
spending getting a 8 to or 7 or 8, on a $10 roll. Yeah, I
That's a
took the
net
money
cost.
in. There's a cost to that, right? It's
Absolutely.
$2, it's $3, $4. It's $1 cost. It's a synthetic put spread. In this case, we're talking about the cause. It becomes paying $1 for the synthetic put spread. But we're not even talking about that. We're not
Not
even
even
putting
talking
that
about.
in the equation here. But again, it is part of. It has to be part of the thinking about what am I going to do now?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the main thing is remember that in this case, that when you do your rolls, that you have a position that is also part of it. Don't just focus on the cash that you got in your money market. In my example, we started off at -6 and we collected 8, right? So we're going, oh, I'm up 2. I'm playing with house money now. Don't forget that you've got that long call. You could have closed that as well. You chose not to. That's exactly the same thing as if you had shut it all down, put it all into cash, and said, okay, now there's $2,000. Let me take this money out and buy that call. Now it'll make you see that it's money spent. It's not house money. So we just wanted to bring that up because we hear that so often from especially the new traders, but even some experienced ones, and it really causes bad decisions. Because if you think that the money is free, you're never going to make a good decision. You can't see the risk. So we hope that
And
gives you some things to think about. Stu, any closing comments?
yeah, here's another little bit of this topic, a little off topic, a little bit here. Um, sometimes, sometimes you rely on. Well, it's kind of the same topic, right? So sometimes you rely on where you are coming from, that cost basis thing.
Yeah.
That's really just an accounting term, right? It doesn't really mean anything. You always have to look at what you have, and you have to look forward. We have an example now. I'm kind of looking at, in our service, Bill, Google. We own a call in Google. The stock's done really nicely lately, and we could roll and take some money in on the option that we own. We might get 4.25 on a $5 roll. Well, number one, it's costing us 75 cents, but that's not really the topic. We could say we can eat away at our cost basis, and we might even say we didn't, but we might have said we bought that call for $3 because the stock was actually a lot lower not too long ago.
Yeah.
And now it's trading at 17. So I'm going to roll for 4. And now I'm into house money.
Right.
But there's $18 sitting in the option.
It's $18 sitting in the option. Right.
Or
it's
20,
not house
it's
money.
actually $22 sitting in the option as I'm looking at it. I mean, I don't.
Right. But you can see that it's an easy trap to fall into where people say, oh,
super
you got to
easy.
just keep rolling and get yourself into house money. Well, what's the resulting position? Is like the example I showed, you had a guaranteed 12 and you got into something that might make an additional 5. Why would you even do that? And yet people do it all the time because they're just focused on house money. So as always, we hope this gives you some things to think about, makes you better trader, certainly helps you to make better decisions. It's always about just understanding options, pricing, theory, strategies, all the things that we like to teach here. And as you pick up all these little tidbits, you just become better over time. For any of you who are not part of Market Rebellion or our Q&A, we'd invite you to join us. You can find our phone number on the website, marketrebellion.com. And we'd love to have you in there. And Stu, I hope people picked up some good tips here. And we will see you next Thursday, 4 p.m. Eastern, for our next Coach's Corner. We'll see you then.
Yeah. All right. See you.